Hey everybody, I hope you are well. I feel like we've entered that sort of sprint into the holidays, packed with all kinds of things, both work and family and community related, and schedules get kind of busy. I have been on the road for much of this week. I had a conference in DC with the National Conference of State Legislatures, or NCSL, whose conferences I attend. They have a lot of big conferences and little conferences. I frequently attend the ones related to fiscal issues, and this one was what they call the Fiscal Institute, which is the leaders of finance and appropriations committees across the country. It is bipartisan, and we really do. It's a very woman-like group, and we get a lot done, and we get to know each other because we see each other a couple times a year. At these events, or at least once a year at them, and exchange a lot of information. A gentleman from Arkansas just sent me his information about a tax tribunal that they set up that is much less litigious. It sets up a way to resolve tax disputes in a less confrontational and less expensive way, which seemed like a really interesting idea. One of the many things that we learn from one another in that thing. So I'm glad I went, and I'm glad to be back home. I also, yesterday, there was an event called the Rebellion Conference on Connecticut's Future in Stamford yesterday, at which I spoke. I got to be on a panel with a bunch of young people from the Northwest Corner talking about what it means to live in Connecticut, what would keep them in Connecticut in the long run, what the state and businesses and all kinds of resources ought to be doing to be focused on kids, both with respect to technology and the environment and you name it. And it was a really great conversation. I'm really very grateful for all the people who came to it. And I reminded them that we pretty regularly have a group of, and it seems to often be about 8th graders that come in to the Capitol, and we've had some great ones from our region, and that when they do come to the Capitol and testify on things, people do pay attention, and they do have a voice that's important. And so I hope we'll see them at the Capitol for holding us to account, which is a pleasure. Then I thought I'd talk a little. So tonight, just in terms of events, I'm looking forward to going to the Wamogo Open House tonight. And before those of you write me in and say it's not Wamogo anymore, it's Region 20, I believe the FFA at Wamogo has chosen to keep that name. So I'll find out tonight, but I'm looking forward to getting there as well. And then I thought I'd talk briefly about the housing bill that we passed, which in special session last week, which was most of the bill that we passed in June that the governor vetoed, but some of the structures and some of the particular parts of it were replaced. And I thought I'd just take this opportunity to address a couple of the myths that are floating out there about it. One of them is that it's a top-down plan, and that it takes power away from towns, which is not the case. Towns still will be the ones that develop their housing growth plans. All plans for development have to comply with local zoning rules. None of that changes. It's important to note that towns are already required to provide affordable housing plans pursuant to earlier law. So there's no additional mandate here. It just clears it up a little bit, and in fact provides better resources, I think, for towns in order to do that. Another part of this is what you may have heard of as fair share, which I think has been mischaracterized, but it did set goals, very specific number of goals in the original bill. That's gone. There still is a methodology for trying to assess what housing need is across the state, and the Office of Policy and Management will deal with statewide levels, and then the COGS, or the councils of governments, which are sort of our version of counties in Connecticut, which we don't have county government, but the COGS do a lot of regional work, and they will be able to provide resources to towns that if they don't want to or don't have the resources to develop their own plan, they can rely on the COG to participate in a regional plan, but they don't have to. They can do it on their own. And if there's a difference between what OPM or the COG has to say and then what the town wants, all the town has to do is say, we have a different idea and here's why. So towns are still driving this. And then there's a lot of questions about what happens if a town doesn't either meet the goals or submit a plan. So if they don't meet the goals, there's no penalty here. This is not there's no additional mandates in this bill. So if they don't meet the goal, don't meet the goal. But again, these are the goals set by the towns themselves. They're not imposed on them by Hartford. And then if a town doesn't submit a plan, either their own plan or a plan done by the COG, they will not get access to new resources. Because this bill does include some new housing funds that we're still working on to make sure that they won't, we'll have to provide more as we go forward. But this doesn't jeopardize any town's access to funds that they currently have access to. The submission of the plan under the bill will give them access to new funds, but it doesn't affect their access to old funds. There are a lot of other details in here. So if you have questions, please reach out. But it really doesn't, I think it really is a town-focused, regional-focused approach to housing, and making it easier to create more housing so that the people who live and work in our community, and I hear from a lot of people who want to stay here and can't afford to do that, will have the opportunity to do so. This is a long-term problem in Connecticut, throughout the country, but Connecticut's one of the most severe, housing costs. That is a huge driver for the high cost of living around here. So I'm hopeful that this will provide at least a little better pathway moving forward. So Thanksgiving is, of course, next week. I hope you will have a chance to see friends and family and have some conversations over good food and a warm place to sit and enjoy the company of people that you love. So talk to you soon.